Welcome to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show, hosted by Mason Kern. He keeps his nose to the ground to report on what's trending in professional and college sports, to inform, enlighten, and entertain. And now it's
the Sports Watchdog.
The Sports Watchdog, Mason Kern.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show here on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060 Phoenix. As always, I'm your host, Mason Kern, joining you every Sunday, and I got another great episode for you here on today's show because you know what? It's going to be an ASU football-heavy episode, okay? Because I know you here in the Valley want to hear about how your Sun Devils are doing. You're in the midst of football season bye week this past week after a huge victory over then number 15 Cal that propels ASU to number 20 in the AP poll. And you know, last time this year that ASU was ranked, they get put at number 24 after they beat Michigan State, and they lay an egg at home. They lose to Colorado. They get out of the rankings, but hey, guess what? They go back on the road, get another huge road victory, back in the rankings, this time in the top 20. So, can they get another momentum-carrying win, or will they lay another egg? I guess we're going to wait and find out to see, but a lot of news coming out of the program in the last week, especially just because of the bye and along the recruiting trail and in preparation for Washington State. All right, guys, so in our kind of ASU-centered sports hot topics program, hot topics of the week this week, we're focusing on football, especially, like I said, they get a huge victory over number 15 California on the road. And it was kind of, you know, Benjamin's breakout performance of this season just because it's been a struggling offensive line up to this point with what people believed was going to be a senior-heavy, laden offensive line group that gets kind of put in flux because Zach Robertson is away from the team dealing with personal matters. So the left tackle was kind of in flux, that position. So they moved Cole Cabral from center to left tackle, where, okay, he was a Remington Award watch list honoree this season, projecting to be one of the nation's best centers in college football, but he was really their only option at the time. Coaches thought at left tackle, so they moved him there. He played there in 2017, was not great to begin the season, and especially having to deal with freshmen, true freshmen, that is, offensive linemen, in Donovan West and Ladarius Henderson now also playing, because by that Michigan State game, there were some errors with the snapping on West's part. It's just a lot to ask for a true freshman to start effectively on the offensive line, especially at center. So they shift West to right guard for that Michigan State game. They move Cabral back to center, and then they take another true freshman in Ladarius Henderson, put him at left tackle. So you have two true freshmen on your offensive line, but you get some more stability with that Cole Cabral move back to center. And they win that Michigan State game. So, okay, you think you have a pretty good lineup set. Cade Cody went down before the season started with a broken foot. He's practiced this last week. But, okay, so you get into this kind of standard formation, this standard starting lineup. They get more comfortable. You go on the road again to Cal, and you do a pretty good job, okay? The offensive line did respectable, but your true freshmen are outplaying your seniors at this point in time. Stephen Miller at right tackle, he's had some issues this season in both pass pro and run blocking. So there's some errors there when your true freshmen are outplaying your seniors. Granted, that bodes well for maybe the future with these young guys who are going to play maybe be 4-year starters on the offensive line, relatively unheard of in college football. But for right now, it poses a slight challenge. And ASU is going to have to get their recruiting hats on and get some offensive linemen. I think they have 5 committed in the class already. So it's going to be really interesting to see where that kind of storyline goes from here on out. But Eno Benjamin gets 3 touchdowns in the Cal game, and he gets 100 yards on 29 carries. That kid is just a workhorse, okay? He gets the extra yardage. He got his famous spin move. And true freshman Jaden Daniels has another great game for the most part. I mean, relatively few freshman mistakes, freshman throws, you would say. He's thrown 1 interception to this point in time. And sure, the yardage isn't amazing. He threw for 174, but at the same time, he's getting done what needs to get done, especially the unannounced plays on the ground. The scrambling has been huge this year. He had his career high in rushing yards, I think 84 in the Cal game. So just extending drives, giving ASU the opportunity to win games. That's what Jaden Daniels has done to this point. Now, in recruiting news, granted, it is a bye week this week in preparation for Washington State. Coaches were out on the recruiting trail on the road this week, and back on Friday, they get a 4-star linebacker commitment in Jordan Banks. The defensive recruiting has been pretty respectable up to this point. Antonio Pierce, their ace recruiter, has done a really remarkable job in terms of getting guys that both fit the scheme, who might be a little under the radar, and also the higher profile guys like Merlin Robertson and Ashari Crosswell in the secondary. And now you add a guy like Jordan Banks, who out of Narbonne is the third player out of Narbonne High School in Harbor City, California in this 2020 class so far for the Sun Devils. You have Banks now, you have a 2020 wide receiver commit Kobe Stewart, and you have 2020 defensive back commit Mason Williams. So there's a lot of talent. There's a pipeline, it seems like, right now between Narbonne High School and ASU. Darian Butler also came from that high school as well. So they get Jordan Banks as a depth piece in their linebacker core. Also, Will Schaefer out of Scottsdale Saguaro High is also committed to ASU, and he's another linebacker prospect that the program is pretty excited about. Now, two other guys who are close in their decisions. Defensive lineman Omar Norman Lott has been trending toward the Sun Devils as of late. And also, you have another guy who I think is really going to be pretty spectacular if he ends up coming to ASU, in Brendan Rice out of Hamilton High, wide receiver. He was unofficially visiting ASU on Wednesday, seemingly was down to Michigan and Colorado, but now trending in ASU's direction.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf. Call 800-605-4650, 800-605-4650. That's 800-605-4650.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060 Phoenix. I'm your host, Mason Kern, and joining us now is Nate Robinson, the first and only three-time NBA Slam Dunk champion and the University of Washington Hall of Famer. Nate was selected with the 21st pick in the 2005 NBA draft by the Phoenix Suns. He also has played for the Knicks, Celtics, Thunder, Warriors, Bulls, and Nuggets throughout his career. In 2018, he played in Ice Cube's Big Three basketball league for Tri-State and AFFL flag football for Holdat concurrently. He now plays pro basketball again for Hamanitman Beirut of the Lemadies Basketball League. So Nate is here today to share more info into his athletic endeavors, as well as what he's been up to since. Hey, Nate, welcome to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show. So glad you could join us today.
Man, what's up, guys? How you guys doing?
Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today. So first off, I understand that you're actually endorsing a new product, so can you give us a little info into everything you're doing with that?
Oh, man, yeah. We're Scuffed Up. This new product, it's called Slamming in the Bag by Scuffed Up, man, and I think it's pretty cool. It's an all-natural substance that gets rid of bacteria and mildew. So, we're really excited about this, this new product, and I think it's a game changer. And I think every house, every sport should have it, man. It's really something cool that parents would really love. I know they got parents got stinky kids that play lots of sports, because I'm a dad and I got some stinky kids that play multiple sports. So, I just hide it in their rooms, man, and they don't even know their room smells good, because they're so used to it smelling like, like football.
Right. And obviously, this is, you say it's a game changer. Specifically then, who is this product for? Is it for the parents and who have the stinky kids, or is it for the everyday athlete? Who is it?
Man, it's honestly, man, it's universal, man. Because you can stick them in your cars, when you go to the car wash and you clean your car out, and
right.
Instead of having fresheners, you have those, slamming in the bag air fresheners. It's pretty cool, bro. It just makes it smell, really dope, and it keeps, mildew and fungus from just, getting around your cars and all your stuff and around you. So it really
right, yeah. And you mentioned now, kind of going along with this, you mentioned that you're a father, and you showcased kind of being a father and everything that goes into that on your webisodes on YouTube called State of Nate. So why was it so important to you to kind of show pride in being a good father and being a role model kind of for your children?
For one, it's just one about believing in yourself and leading. and not being afraid to do something that can change the game and change the world. So this will be his first, I think, first of its kind of, in a deal where, that hockey smell that you go to yoga, you got yoga mats. I mean, it really gets rid of those nasty, stinky smells, man, and it keeps the bacteria and fungus out.
Right, yeah, and I mean, obviously those episodes, those webisodes, State of Nate on YouTube wasn't the only kind of on-camera initiative that you took part in. Obviously, you're just in the movie Uncle Drew. So what was that kind of experience like, and can you kind of discuss how you kind of enjoyed that role?
Well, going from being a kid and falling in love with movies and acting and actors and actresses, it's just it becomes something that you've always wanted as a kid, to being able to play in a movie, and getting that opportunity with Kyrie Irving and all the great Shaq, Reggie Miller, Lisa Leslie, Chris Webber. It was so much fun, and Kyrie played a hell of a role. He really stole the show with just his presence, just being there, man. He just made it so much fun to be around, and when it was a challenge, being around so many GOATs. You kind of step into your own and just take it all in and observe your surroundings of who's around you. You got some great people, and for them to give me the opportunity to to showcase what I can do as a movie star, it was pretty cool, man. It was pretty awesome. So hopefully you see more me on the big screen doing some fun stuff like that. I think that'd be pretty fun in the next chapter.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's definitely really exciting for sure. And I mean, you personally so kind of well-versed in so many different kind of avenues with the movies and then the webisodes, basketball. I mean, football gave a try too. You played obviously in the AFFL, like I said, trying out for the Seahawks as well. What kind of made you want to pursue maybe football as another chapter in your life?
It's football is just built in me, man. As a whole, that was my first love. It came naturally, being in the park with my friends in California and here in Seattle. Throwing the football, playing two-hand touch, tackle football, little league football, growing up. It's just built in you forever, no matter what. Even when you're playing basketball, there's still football cuts and moves that you see people do on the football field. So, it was just it's remarkable, man. It's just fun, man. It was just fun to get an opportunity to showcase, that I'm one of the greatest athletes on this planet. Just
right,
you know what I'm saying? Just being a part of playing and can still play. To be able to do that, I thank God. I can still move and still do some of the great things that I still want to do.
Right, yeah. I mean, still playing, obviously, professional basketball in the Lebanese Basketball League, like I said. Last year, in 2018, playing in Ice Cube's Big 3 League. What was that experience like? Another kind of chapter in your life?
I'm not going to lie, man. That experience was so cool, man, because, Cube is there. It's not like he comes to only some game. He goes to every single game, him and his family, like they're right there courtside. And just to have that support from a guy like Ice Cube, man, it's such an honor. It's so much fun. They give us so much freedom to be ourselves and express who we are when we're playing. I think it's pretty cool. He's giving guys opportunity.
Right, yeah. And I mean, for you, playing in so many different kind of varieties of basketball, like we just mentioned, Big 3 League, and now playing professionally in the Lebanese League, played in the NBA, obviously the three-time and only person to do it 3 times NBA Slam Dunk champion. So many different kind of avenues in basketball. What has been kind of your favorite moments in your illustrious career?
Oh, man. Besides my children, because those are probably my greatest gifts to this earth, man. God bless them, 4 beautiful kids. But besides my kids, man, I would say, just honestly the real opportunity to play in the NBA. All of it. I can't say I have one specific moment, man.
Right.
Honestly, like that whole 11 and a half years, 12 years was a dream come true. It was a dream and a reality. It was awesome.
Right, and I mean, for you, I mean, being such an inspiration to kids because, I mean, obviously not the tallest, not the biggest, not the strongest or fastest, but being able to play in the NBA at such a high level. What is kind of your message in being such an inspiration for these kids?
You can do it. You can be an inspiration yourself to anybody. You got to believe in yourself, before anybody else does, because, people are going to doubt you all the time. As long as you believe in yourself, you can do anything. Never give up on yourself. Always always give your best in whatever it is. And the whole work you put in is the work you get out. So, that's what I would give. That's what I would give them.
Yeah, definitely really great advice there. Well, Nate, thank you so much for your time. Where can our listeners go to find out more or just to connect with you?
Man, you guys definitely can connect with us on Instagram, Scuffed Up and Nate Robinson. You guys can go support. We're doing a Kickstarter. You can go to Kickstarter.com. To support your boy on that as well. We got some cool new products that you guys are gonna love. I appreciate you guys for having me on. Again, Happy New Year to everybody. Peace and love.
Appreciate you, Nate. Thanks so much for taking the time. All right, everyone. The Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060. We'll be right back after this.
Hi, my name is Lily. My mom and dad used to fight about money all the time. Then one day, I heard them talking about this guy, some uncle I never knew, called Uncle Sam. Well, they say this Uncle Sam guy wanted them to pay him like $1 gazillion, and they didn't have $1 gazillion. So they called this company they heard on the radio called the Tax Doctor. And the Tax Doctor worked with Uncle Sam's people. I think they're called the IRS. And they were able to work it out so my mom and dad didn't have to pay Uncle Sam very much money at all. So now mom and dad are happy, and I'm happy too. Thanks, Tax Doctor.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, call now and pay less. 800-605-4650. 800-605-4650. That's 800-605-4650.
Hey there, you're listening to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio AM 1060. I'm your host, Mason Kern, and thank you so much for being here with me today. Joining us now is an exciting guest, former NBA All-Star center Mark Eaton. The Utah Jazz took a chance on Mark, who was an untested prospect coming out of UCLA, having selected him as the 72nd pick in the 4th round of the 1982 NBA draft. His 7'4", 290-pound stature surely played a role there. And that bet paid off as Mark ultimately became one of the most defensively prominent players in NBA history. He still currently holds the record for blocks in a season with 456 and also career block averages with 3.5 per game. His defensive prowess led to an All-Star berth in 1989 and 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards in 1985 and 1989 as well. Mark's entire NBA career was spent with the Jazz. Throughout 875 games, he scored 5,216 points, grabbed 6,939 rebounds, and blocked 3,064 shots. At the time of his retirement, he ranked second all-time in league history for total block shots, only behind Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's career total of 3,189. But Abdul-Jabbar played 1,560 games compared to Mark's 875. Since his retirement, Mark has become a corporate speaker and published author, and he's here to catch us up on his post-NBA endeavors, his book, and also share some insights about the NBA. Hey, Mark, welcome to the Sports Watchdog Radio Show. Thanks for being here.
Well, thanks, Mason. It's great to be on your show today.
Yeah, thank you again so much for coming on, like I said. So, first off, Mark, I know, like I said, you've become a prolific speaker since your NBA days. So, what exactly is your speaking platform, and who is the typical audience?
Well, I've spent the last 9 or 10 years doing mostly corporate motivational speaking on teamwork. I do a program called The 4 Commitments of a Winning Team, and I travel around the country, reach a wide variety of industries and people, and the platform has really been one of helping people get rid of internal competition and sharing with them my crazy story of how I became a basketball player starting out as a 21-year-old auto mechanic in Southern California.
Yeah, obviously a really cool story there, the kind of rise and then your rise to success in the NBA. And that, so, Mark, if you were to boil it all down, what would you say your main message is, and how does it help those in business, really?
Well, my main message is really looking at teamwork from the inside out. So I have the unique advantage of playing team at the highest level. And a lot of people in business use the term teamwork all the time. We're a team, we're a team, we're a team.
Definitely.
But don't really understand it at the level that I do and from the experiences I've had. And so I share that in 4 distinct points with the audience, and sharing what worked for me and how I became a successful player as well as a successful team member, and how our team ended up winning and having a run of 20 consecutive playoff appearances based on these 4 commitments, and how they are going to apply to your business.
And so you mentioned those 4 commitments now, and I know that's the title of the book you authored, the 4 Commitments of a Winning Team. So tell us more about what we're going to gain from reading this book, and then why it's different from other leadership and success books out there.
Well, I think what is unique about my message is this is something I lived. It's not something I studied or read about. This is something I actually did. And so these commitments are distinct traits and skills and things that you can use immediately to improve your life and your business and take yourself to the next level. So I focus on things like how important it is to really understand and know your role on the team, and how critical that is to only your success and your team's success, and as well as your commitment to the people around you. The more you make other people look good, the better you're going to look to them, and the more your customers are going to appreciate that as well. And so the basic premise is there's just 4 simple steps that you can utilize to, I think, dramatically improve things at your company, in your business, and your personal life.
Well, you mentioned role on a team, and I would definitely say that's very important, just knowing your role within a team, because it's obviously no I in team. But now, Mark, shifting to your NBA career, obviously the transition must have been pretty tough from your college years, then immediately going to the NBA, and obviously change is never easy as it is. So how did you adjust so quickly and then so well, really?
Well, it was a challenge coming out of college because I sat at the end of the bench and I didn't play very much. Mm-hmm. And, the Utah Jazz took a chance on me. My junior college coach and I actually cold called NBA teams looking for a tryout. Wow. And the Jazz were somewhat interested, and we sent them a very brief highlight tape of my very brief college career. And they ended up drafting me in the 4th round, like you mentioned. When I came to the Jazz, they were a bad team in a bad market. I mean, we used to give away posters of other teams' players to get people to come to the arena, right? And so Frank Layden, who was the coach and general manager, gave me a chance. He said, look, if you come to camp early, work with our coaches, get on our weight training program, get on our running program, he goes, I'll give you a chance for 1 year, and we'll just see what happens. And so he did, and I did my part. I got here early. I worked with the coaches. I thought I was in pretty good shape when I showed up. Well, I wasn't even close. And so I did the little things that he had asked me to do, and by the middle of the season, I was the starting center of the NBA. So it took a lot of extra work and time, but he was willing to give me a chance to kind of, get my feet wet out there, and, I improved, and so did the team.
I think it's all about getting that chance, like you said. I mean, you put in the hard work, and you got the results, and the results showed. So that's definitely something that our listeners can take with stride. And with your large frame, obviously, even in the pro basketball circuit, how were you able to kind of utilize that to your advantage? Because obviously, I'm sure you were much bigger than some of the other players you were going head-to-head against.
Well, I learned a very key lesson when I was in college, and that the summer between my junior and senior year, we used to play pickup games at the men's gym at UCLA, and I was just trying to compete out there, and I'm trying to keep up with these much faster, smaller players, and trying to figure out where my spot is out there on the floor. And I was standing on the sidelines one day, and Wilt Chamberlain used to come down and work out with us even after he retired from the NBA. And he just grabbed me on the shoulder, and he said, look, why are you trying to chase these little guys up and down the court? He said, come with me. And he put me right in front of the basket. And he said, you see this basket? He said, just stop players from getting there. Make them miss their shot. Collect the rebound. Throw it up to the guard and let them go down the other end and score it. And you just cruise up to half court and kind of see what's going on. And it was this very light bulb type moment for me where I understood what my role was out on the floor. And even though I didn't play that much the next year at UCLA, I remembered that lesson. And when I got to the NBA, I said, you know what, I can do one thing well. I can block shots and play defense. Let me just focus on that, and I'll build from there. Well, Frank Layden with the Jazz was changing the the culture of the team at that point from a kind of up-tempo run-and-gun style to more one that was defensively oriented and running an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And I fit perfectly into that. He parked me under the, in the basket, under the basket there in the key, and we played a very aggressive, switching, shifting defense. And I had some great players on my team that could run the floor, like Adrian Dantley and Ricky Green, and I just got rebounds and threw the ball to them, and Darrell Griffith, and they went down the other end and scored it, and we ended up kind of getting ourselves out of the cellar, and in the next year, winning the division for the first time in team history, making the playoffs for the first time in team history, and we had 4 individual statistical leaders in the NBA,
wow,
which has not been done since.
Yeah, that's truly incredible, and I mean, we talk about the role. I think figuring out your role from a legend like Wilt Chamberlain must have been pretty cool, but obviously now the game has changed. I mean, we're talking about back in the 80s from being a kind of a big man centers league where the league was dominated by centers, frankly, and now we see people in the NBA who are just pulling up from half court from the logo. It seems like a bunch of guard 3-point shooters. So do you think this change has been beneficial or detrimental to basketball and to the NBA as a whole?
Oh, I think it's been very, very beneficial. You just saw the influx of international players kind of starting in the late 80s and continuing on till today, and it's a much more diverse base of players to draw from around the world with unique skills, and the game has continued to change and evolve as well. And so you now see guys like, a Dirk Nowitzki who's 7 foot that can shoot it out on the floor.
Yeah, crazy.
And, Kevin Durant who's like a prototypical basketball player now can do everything.
Yeah.
I think it's been great for the game, and it's the popularity of the game has never been greater, and it continues to improve. And you look at the values of a lot of the NBA franchises now. I mean, they've just gone up dramatically in the last 6-7 years. I was reading an article the other day about the Warriors that I think started out at $500 million or a little less than that. Maybe I can't remember exactly what the number was, but now through digital marketing and everything else, their value is up to $3 billion, and that's just remarkable. And that's just since 2010. I think it's obviously working.
I mean, yeah, of course, the Warriors, because they've gotten so good so fast, it seems like, I'm sure their value has skyrocketed for sure. And we talk about, like I said earlier, well, like you said earlier, you kind of got that key advice from Wilt Chamberlain, so I'm sure that was quite a moment that stood out. But how was it going up against some of the greatest centers of all time? We talk about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, we talk about some of these other players. So do you have any other particular moments that stand out?
Well, I played in a great era. I came into the NBA with guys like Bob Lanier and Kareem and Artis Gilmore, and then we moved into Patrick Ewing and David Robinson and probably my biggest nemesis, Hakeem Olajuwon. All those guys were just such great players. And just imagine going one night next to the next to the next. Like, it's okay, you got Hakeem tonight. Tomorrow we got Patrick Ewing. Next day we got Kareem. Day after that, got David Robinson. It was a different game for sure, and the team relied on me a lot to stop those guys. And so it was a great era, and I think probably of all of them, Hakeem was the biggest challenge because he came from a soccer background, so he had very quick feet as a center. In fact, I believe one year, it was around the late 80s, he led the NBA in both block shots and steals as a 5-man, which was just remarkable back then. And so we had some great rivalries and a lot of fun, and it was just a great era to have been a part of the NBA.
I'm sure. I mean, myself, looking back at all the highlights from that era, it's kind of crazy to see, one, just how much the game has changed to now, but two, just how incredible the players were back then, and to have been a part of that, I'm sure that was really cool looking back. And then lastly, Mark, what advice would you give to your 16-year-old self now that you're looking back at your career post-NBA now? What would you tell yourself if you could?
I think looking back at that, and I get asked that question frequently, that I would say just to relax and understand that life is a process. I'm just a little over 60 years old now, and looking back, you can see how everything's unfolded in perfect timing, and be a little kinder to yourself when you're young, and especially in today's world of instant gratification and digital. Everybody thinks they need to be an expert at everything, like right now. The truth of the matter is that the skill and the journey of wisdom and everything else takes time as you develop, and just to be a little kinder and nicer to yourself along the way, because it's all unfolding as it should, and you can't really rush the process.
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely some great advice there. Well, Mark, thank you so much for all of that wisdom and insight. It's obviously really helpful. Where can fans go to get more information about you, your book, and all your other endeavors?
You can go to my website, 7foot4.com. You can find the book on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, etc., and it comes out on April 3rd. Very excited about that. But the best place to find most of the information would be my website, 7foot4.com.
I like that. Super easy to remember, 7foot4.com for everyone who missed that the first time. But all right, everyone, the Sports Watchdog Radio Show on NBC Sports Radio, AM 1060. We'll be right back.
Well, that's a wrap, everyone. Anybody wanting to connect with me, the Sports Watchdog, on Twitter can do so at @SportsWatchdog, and on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as well at The Sports Watchdog. So until next time, keep your eye on the ball.
The Sports Watchdog.
The Sports Watchdog, Ace and Kern.